Hello and welcome everyone to the historic Difference Makers Summit Part 3. That's right, we're on Part 3 of the Difference Makers Summit, and I am so excited you're here. The topic for today is Learn How to Be Happy with Mind Power Technology. It's called Mind PT, and who wouldn't want more of that? I wanted to first let you know that this is going to be a really very special program. I'm Lynn Sanders, your host, and I'm the story marketing coach at Difference Makers Media, where our mission is to inspire, empower, and motivate all of you difference makers, both entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders, to make a bigger difference in the world by us helping you tell your story strategically. And to make this most effective, I want all of you to feel engaged by writing your name and where you're hanging out from in the comment stream. If you're new to this format, I'd also like you to feel encouraged to ask questions and comments during the program so that we can address them, because this is a really special opportunity for all of us to get together and spread positivity in the world. And who wouldn't want more of that? Well, our program today is featuring Robert McPhee, an internationally recognized business expert. And we also have Cheryl Volk on hold, but Cheryl is in Maui, Hawaii, and doesn't have computer access at this moment. So if she can't join us, Robert will be addressing the questions we're going to ask her about the science behind Mind PT. But in the meanwhile, I'm really excited to have Robert with us. Now, before we go into the program, I want all of you to know that we are going above and beyond here at the Difference Makers Summit, giving you valuable content and bonuses. The only thing you need to do is to register to get those bonuses. So I'm going to ask my wonderful wingman and friend, business colleague, Roland Takaoka, who's standing by, to post the link for the bonuses. The links are, if you want to go to the registration page, you'll see it under bit.ly, bit.ly/DMS-registration, and that page will have all the programs for our summit with a button that you click to register. If you just want to register and you don't need to see all the programs, you can go to bit.ly/DMS, all capitals, and then dash bonuses with a capital B. And that will give you bonuses for all our past programs and our current program. So I would really encourage you to do that, because you are going to get some great bonuses that total thousands of dollars. In fact, our first guest from our first summit, Roland Takaoka, is here, and he had offered, just as a reminder for those of you who didn't know this, a free opportunity to learn how to create your own WordPress website, a 12-week program, and all you need to do is apply. So please register. And now I first want to welcome my wing person and my wingman, Roland Takaoka. Roland, can you tell us how you are doing today on a scale of 1 to 10 on the happiness factor, and where you're hanging out from?
Okay, the happiness factor, I'm a 10 because I usually get up on the right side of the bed. Even though I only have the left side to get out of, I kind of like mentally get over that. And I'm good. I'm really good. I'm excited to be here, and everything is working pretty well other than not being able to get Cheryl online here with us. But I think that Robert's going to carry the show, and we're going to be really geared towards learning stuff from him today.
Yes, I know we are. So let me officially introduce Robert McPhee, who is a multi-talented business expert. Robert is the Director of Operations at Mind PT, and he's also the founder of HeartSet. Through his coaching, speaking, and consulting, Robert incorporates Mind PT to help people make excellent decisions based on their vision and values. Robert is also the creator of the Excellent Decision Leadership Development Program. He's also the founding member of the Transformational Leadership Council and the author of the book Manifesting for Non-Gurus, How to Quickly and Easily Attract Lasting Results. And who wouldn't want that? Besides all these credits, Robert is the former director of training for the Jack Canfield Training Group, and I'm sure all of you have heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul. So Robert has been a part of that group in his past, which is a great credit to have. The focus of Robert's work is helping leaders create results and the experience of life that they want in a world of constant change. So without further ado, welcome Robert. How are you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing great. I'm thrilled to be here. Love the energy of the call. It's great to meet Roland today, and of course, you and I have known each other for quite a while now.
That is true. I'm very glad about that. Robert, I thought it would be a good idea just to let everyone know a little bit about Cheryl, because I know she's trying to get in, but she is an important part of the Mind PT business. Would that be all right with you if I just gave her a brief intro?
Yeah, yeah, and I can speak a little bit to my connection to Cheryl as well. So yeah, if you can tell people about her background and her expertise, I think that's great.
Okay, and then you can fill in the gaps.
We're like texting here. She's still frantically trying to get in, and we'll see if we can get the technology to work. But we all know how that goes with technology.
That's right. This is great practice for us in learning to overcome challenges and staying calm. I think it's great. Well, Cheryl is a multi-talented business expert, just as Robert is. She's been training, mentoring, speaking, and writing for people over 30 years, and she supports the mission and values of 3 different businesses. She's the Chief Learning Officer at Mind PT. She's the Vice President at Sheely Learning Systems. And she's the CEO of Savvy in Life Synergy of Success. Oh my God, we've got Cheryl. It must be the magic. I'm so excited. Cheryl's work for over the past 30 years involves recognizing the patterns that drive business results and personal experiences. And I think the energy must have brought you here, Cheryl, from Maui, Hawaii. Welcome. Can you come in?
Thank you.
Can we see you?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad. So we can't see you, but
good.
That's okay. At least we can hear you.
Just imagine with palm trees.
So you're coming in from the beach.
Near the beach. I'm up on the hill a little bit, but I can see the ocean.
Oh, that's great.
We don't need to see Maui. It'll just make us jealous.
Well, it's really beautiful.
We're not able to see you, Cheryl. We're seeing a black screen, but I guess the voice will have to do unless there's some way of maybe that doesn't have a camera. I'm glad just to have your voice. That will work too. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. So we're going to divide up questions between you and Robert, and we're also going to be taking questions from our audience. The first obvious question is, what is Mind PT? What is Mind Power Technology? So Robert, I'm going to start with turning it over to you. Take it away.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and I do. Cheryl, it's great that you're here, and we were just kind of settling in and thinking that we weren't going to have you, and I really want to acknowledge you because it was Cheryl that introduced me to Mind PT. Lynn, you mentioned that I used to be the director of training for Jack Canfield's organization. I first met Cheryl in the capacity of doing that work, and also in the capacity of doing that work with Jack over the years, and in the capacity of doing my own work that you talked a little bit about with Excellent Decisions and the coaching and consulting that I do. I've seen a lot of technologies come and go to take the concept of visualization and affirmation and positive thinking. I love how you said earlier, we're going to spread positivity, and who wouldn't want more of that? And it's true, we all want to be more positive, and there's a lot of programs and resources out there that have promised to help us with that. And for the most part, over the years, I've taken a look at what has come and gone. I was a little bit of a gatekeeper for Jack because, of course, someone in his position with Chicken Soup for the Soul and the level of success he's had there, he had everyone in the world who wanted him to endorse their product or their project or whatever. And part of my role was to be like the Tai Chi master and help deflect the ones that would not be the best use of his time. And to be honest, when I first heard about Mind PT, I went and met with Kim, who's the founder of Mind PT, simply as a favor to Cheryl. I don't know if I've ever really shared this story with Cheryl, but I went to meet with Kim, and I really didn't have very high expectations. I kind of felt like I'd seen this kind of stuff before. I had seen that it was basically like a vision board, an online vision board type of technology, but what I realized very quickly when I met Kim and when I first looked at this technology was that it was very, very different. It is designed to help us with visualizing the positive and staying connected to positive imagery and words and music, which is the kind of the building blocks of Mind PT. It works kind of like a slideshow where you see the images, you see the words, and you hear music behind it. But what I realized really quickly again was that this technology was very different, and I'm thrilled that Cheryl's here because she's going to talk about some of the science behind it. But what I saw was, first of all, that Mind PT was 100% committed to the fact that these images were not just any images. They were curating these images, they were selecting these images based on very specific and very intentional criteria so that they were going to create the kind of effect in my mind and in my body that we're looking to create. The same thing with the words. I've been around this business, this type of work, and personal and professional development for a very long time. And I feel like I know how to write an affirmation. I know how to write a positive statement. I know the traps that we can fall into about, saying, we're talking about losing weight or not wanting something and how that doesn't work for us. But I wrote my 200 positive statements to create my Mind PT session, and then went through with their team and really kind of fine-tuned quite a few of them. Looked at the specific criteria that they work with and made sure that every single one of those statements that are a part of my Mind PT session met those criteria. And then also with the music. So there's the images and then there's the words, but there's also the music. And there are very specific criteria for the kind of music that gets used. There's also the opportunity to customize the sessions based on the music that I have in my own iTunes account. But if I'm using the music that's available through Mind PT, it's been very carefully selected. And one of the things we'll talk about when we get to Cheryl is she's done a lot of work with an amazing man by the name of Paul Sheely in the area of music and sound, and how different music and different sound affects us in very different ways. I also have a project called Daily Upbeats, where we share a positive song with people every single day. And I've learned a lot about music, and a lot about the music that might sound good, but the lyrics on it might not be so good for us in some cases. So the images, the words, and the music were obviously different. And then the two kickers for me, the things that really, I think, got my attention and really got me kind of hooked on Mind PT, like you mentioned, I'm actually actively working with the company now. I sometimes feel kind of like the Remington shaver guy who used to be on those commercials and said, I like the company so much I bought it. Right. Well, Mind PT wasn't for sale, so I like the company so much I went to work for them, but I'm that passionate about it. And the two kickers were, number one, that you can change the speed. So with Mind PT, a session might take about 20 minutes to watch the entire session at normal speed. But I can speed it up. I can actually speed it up so it only takes about 3 minutes to watch a session. And what that does, and again, Cheryl can talk about the science behind why this is so important, but first of all, it addresses the fact that sometimes I don't have 20 minutes. Life is busy, we have a lot of things going on, and sometimes I don't have 20 minutes. But even more importantly, what it does for me is it eliminates the ability for me to get into that little debate that sometimes goes on in my head. And I believe this is one of the big issues with visualization and affirmation, is that when I say I am a wealthy and successful businessman, or I see that on the screen in front of me, there's a little voice in my head that says, you are not. You look at your bank account. You've been doing that. Blah, 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 blah. It kind of tries to talk me out of it and keep me in my comfort zone. Well, when that Mind PT session is flying by, and going image, image, image really quick, I'm able to absorb those statements, but there's not enough time for me to get into that debate, to get into that conversation about yes, I am, no, I'm not, yes, I am, no, I'm not. And I find that to be one of the huge differences between Mind PT and some of the other technologies that are out there that might look similar to it. So, and there's also some customization ability to go along with that, where the session can be customized. I can put my own images in there. I can create more of my own positive statements to add to the session. All those things can be customized to meet my specific criteria. So anyway, I looked at this technology. I had basically very low expectations going into it, and I got immediately hooked on it. I started watching some of the sessions that were in the program to begin with, and I got to work immediately on creating my own session because I find that it has just a profound impact on my ability to stay clear and focused and connected to the work that I'm doing every single day, even though I'm doing it in an environment that's filled with all these other, bright, shiny objects and distractions that so often are trying to pull me off course.
That sounds so great. So it's a digital product, as you're explaining. It can be customized. It can be sped up if you don't have a lot of time. And the results we're going to talk about more, I think, are what also make it really unique. I love how you explain that Mind PT is a blend of neuroscience as well as psychology that moves into technology. So I think it would be wonderful now to hear from Cheryl, even though we don't get to see her picture, to go over the science behind this, because I also think that what you're saying that makes us unique is the science. So your mind doesn't have to counteract, like, am I wealthy, am I not wealthy, but you're going to move forward because of this science. And
yeah, and I think I agree, and I think it would be a perfect time to switch over to Cheryl. And you know, I was prepared if we weren't able to get Cheryl on the line. I am not a scientist, and
okay.
you know, I was still prepared to really speak to the science, because although I'm not a scientist, one of the things I really love about Mind PT is I'm a really analytical person, and I do want to know that something is the real deal before I use it myself, before I endorse it myself, certainly before I get involved with a company as I am with Mind PT. And even though I don't have the scientific background, every question I've ever asked, every angle that I've ever looked at it from, there's very hard science, very hard research behind not only the fact that Mind PT does work, but the explanation for why. So I think it's a perfect time to switch over to Cheryl and hear some of the real science that I can't explain very well, but she certainly can.
Great. Okay, Cheryl, you ready?
I am.
Oh, great. Okay, so we're going to just imagine you on the beach there. We're going to use our mind power. And if you can tell us a little bit about the science behind Mind PT, I know we'd all love to hear that.
Okay. Well, here's what I'd like to start out by saying. Processes information faster than the blink of an eye. And when I say it processes the information, what is actually happening is you can look at something and interpret its meaning before you're consciously aware of its meaning. So what happens actually with Mind PT is it's a technology that actually is the closest thing to the way your mind works, that's been created to work along with a couple of key systems. The first system I'm going to talk about is, many of you that maybe took psychology in college or some biology might have mentioned it, particularly classes that blended both sciences, is the fact that you have a reticular activating system within you. And this reticular activating system is actually a dual system, and it is designed to look at your environment and sort and to select and to decide in a fraction of a second whether something's a threat or something is good. And this system is actually what Mind PT is leveraging. Because imagine this, it's actually located in what is called your brain stem. And your brain stem is like the little bulk of neuron area that connects your brain down into your spinal column. And so it has an ascending part and a descending part. The ascending part is going up and touching all parts of the upper brain. So if you imagine where your forehead is, this is where all of your thinking goes on. And then if you imagine it going down, and it goes into your senses. So it really is like an incredible part of your brain that allows you to make really good decisions, sort for things, and at times be unnecessarily afraid. So what happens with Mind PT is your reticular activating system, very quickly as these images go by, quickly sorts for what's good, what's positive, what's working, solutions. And then there's this other part of our brains that's really amazing that up until 7 years ago we hadn't identified it in humans, but it's called the mirror neuron system. And that system is in the side part, it's in a lobe of your brain that actually has these neurons that at the same time they can process vision and somasensory input. Now this is like amazing, because most of our neurons are more selective in what they do. So when you're looking at something, your visual cortex has cells that's registering the visual input and deciding what it is based on what you've learned it is. Excuse me. This part of the brain where the mirror neurons exist, that system, it's doing all of that. So Mind PT, what it's done is it's working on the fact that we know now that these mirror neurons, before you're consciously aware of something, you understand what it is.
Can you say that again?
I'm going to say that again.
That's really important.
Yeah, because it's like you don't even really think about it in your prefrontal cortex. It's just you see something and you automatically register meaning, importance, danger, and that's what's really, really fantastic, because we're taking, if you will, advantage that we have this system within our brains that can help us get to where we want to go. So by using that science, when we speed it up, and there's 800 images and 200 statements in a Mind PT session.
Wow.
So again, this is one of the other key differences with Mind PT. Because we're having so many thoughts a day, and some say 50,000, some say 70,000, the truth of the matter is it all depends on what you define as a thought. But our minds are busy, bottom line. So
Right.
you've got to really have enough of a quantity of imagery and positive messages that can come into the brain in a fast way so that your mirror neurons just automatically interpret and respond. Now that response, I believe, is really key, because I'm going to give you an example. If you're walking around and someone smiles at you, particularly here in North America, not necessarily true throughout the world, but we automatically smile. We're enculturated. As a response, we learn to smile, and our mirror neurons have picked that up. And so it's a learning that we have, and we do not think, oh, I need to smile. We just smile. So that's one concrete example that I can give of how all this works, of when you see those images, you just automatically respond, and so in your body, you're registering that. Now, then the reticular activating system comes in, and it looks for, how can I duplicate what I experience good to be in that environment where people are smiling, people are successful, more money is flowing in, people boat rides, they're out in the wilderness. And the mind will go to work to replicate that piece of it. So those two systems, I think, are really crucial for people to understand what Mind PT is doing. Now, again, the difference being is, yes, we're speeding it up, and we have lots of images, and they've been carefully curated to create a positive response and to help you actually start sorting for that. So when you're watching a Mind PT session, you're actually getting a, if you will, a shortcut to success, because your mind is going, oh, that's what it looks like. Okay, now let me replicate, because you have these systems within you to sort and to mirror what you're seeing. And so when that 3-minute session, while it seems like, how could that make a impact on what I'm experiencing in my day? It's because this is just some of the preliminary studies that we're finding, is that 3 minutes is so focused, so rich, so content intensive, that it gives people data all at once, and the mind continues to process it for 6 to 8 hours, and it uplifts in positivity.
Wow. So you're saying, some of the sound is a little hard to hear, but I am hearing you. Hopefully everyone is hearing you. What you're saying is, whether it's 3 minutes, as Robert was saying, it's a shortened session, or I believe it goes, to like 20 minutes? Is that the length, full length, slowly? It makes an impact. And it continues. The impact lasts for 6 to 8 hours after the initial training session that you get through the product.
That's correct. It makes an impact. These are the preliminary studies that we know, that there's a greater percentage of time that you will be in a positive frame of mind for 6 to 8 hours when you watch a Mind PT session. Now, I believe it does a whole lot more. I don't have every study that I want to have done, but what I'm seeing from all the reports of really tens of thousands of users, what they experience in that focused time is an expansion of their own ability. Now, it's really, really important. Because, as Robert mentioned, you can watch this and just absorb it and take it on, and if you will, you almost take ownership of what you're seeing because it's so pleasant and enjoyable, and it actually does trigger feel-good hormones such as dopamine and serotonin. And even though I can't say that scientifically, we know we feel good, and when we feel good, I can tell you that science has proven when you feel good, dopamine and serotonin increase. Right. And someday we'll have that, that measurement. But what I'm saying is, when that is feeling good and you have that experience, you're more likely to believe and have self-expectancy that you will be successful. That self-expectancy is actually called the Galatea effect, and it's stronger than what is also another effect, the Pygmalion effect, which many people have heard of, but it's the idea that in a classroom, if a teacher has very high expectations of their class, the class will perform better than if the teacher has low expectations.
That's true.
And so yeah, and I believe it's part of that mirror neurons and the reticular activating that's at work, if you will, instantly almost, understanding things. And so when a person is looking at you and they expect you to do well, your mind registers that, and then your self-expectancy goes up. So MindPT is creating this magic of positive expectations for you as a person, because the statements are saying not only in first person, I am, but also there's statements saying you are. And when someone says you are beautiful, successful, smart, whatever they say to you, even if you don't believe it necessarily, you begin to take it in. And when you begin to take it in, it uplifts you, and what then happens, now this is real, when we're feeling really positive,
yes,
this emotional state, transmitters that start working for us, they actually expand our ability to access other parts of our brain for the resources to create, to generate, to solve. It's called the Brodmann Build Theory. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson came up with it.
It's fascinating.
And it is fascinating because think about what people do in a normal day. Now, if anybody on this hangout watches much news, I doubt if I could see you that you would be raising your hand and say, I feel better after watching the news.
Exactly.
And what happens is you go into a fear state usually, and when you go into a fear state, it's actually referred to by many people as an amygdala hijack. The amygdala is a fear-based part of your brain that is actually in a different system, and for purposes it's called the limbic system. What that
go ahead.
That piece is like designed to manage emotions, but it's a fear sensor. So if you're watching the news and you're all afraid, what happens is that part starts getting more energy, if you will, or more bandwidth, more focus, and you cannot go into your frontal cortex where you have all your creativity, all your decision making, all your ability to process other possibilities. And so what happens if you ever, whenever you read an article, you watch and the journalist or the broadcaster pretty much takes you down a pretty narrow path.
Right. So what happens, let me interrupt for just a second, Cheryl. We're all...
Then I'm sorry, you broke...
Yeah, you're breaking up. I just want to pause for a moment because you bring up something really important about negative news, and that's personally what's motivating me to put out a show that's positive, because I feel our world right now is being so bombarded with negative news. Not that the news isn't valid, but I feel it's like having a diet with lots of salty foods. You know, you need a break.
Yes.
And I want to address this for a moment. So let's say, and I'm going to talk about how you use Mind PT, and Robert, I'd like you to join in. Let's say, I imagine, you know, this is personal training, as you say, coaching for the mind, so we all get into the right mindset and ultimately have better, more happier, productive lives. But let's say we start out with Mind PT and it lasts for 6 or 8 hours, and then we come across some news. I mean, yesterday I was on the treadmill and I heard, you know, bad news. I don't even want to bring it up because it triggers a negative feeling. So what do you recommend people do? I mean, do they watch Mind PT more than once? How can we use Mind PT to its best advantage when we're confronted by negative news, which is all around us?
My personal recommendation is to use it in the morning before you really get involved in your work activities, and to use it for a minimum of 3 minutes to view a session. And then again in 6 to 8 hours, and that would be my minimum recommendation. Now, if you watch the news and you notice, oh dear, I'm in fear and I'm not thinking, you know, too expansively, I'm just really not feeling good, that's the time to go back to my PT session to be able to come back to center, if you will. And so it's like an antidote, if you will. You can actually quickly switch over to positivity very quickly, again, because you have this reticular activating system and these mirror neurons, and you just can use it that way. It's kind of, and it actually is going to the causation, which is really key. It's not treating the symptom, you know, because most of our treatment of problems in the world is usually treating the symptoms, not the causation.
Exactly.
Well, the causation is been our trigger of fear within our brain, the amygdala, and so we can remove the hijack, if you will, put us back online to use all of our resources, from the frontal cortex to every piece that we have within us, all of our memories. We sort and select the positive, and we can make moves, and we can consider more than 1 or 2 possibilities.
Yeah, and if I Lynn, can I add something to that?
Yeah, please go ahead, Robert. And we have some comments I want to address in a moment. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, and I love the way Cheryl explained it, and one of the things I've seen actually using Mind PT myself, and it's an amazing technology, and yet it's not a panacea. It's not like, oh, I watched the negative news, I'm going to flip that around with Mind PT. But what I love about Mind PT is it is very complementary to all the things that we know we should be doing. First of all, we should be watching less of the negative news. We should be surrounding ourselves with the positive input, like this show is. We should be surrounding ourselves with positive people. We should be, you know, reading and continuing to learn and bombarding ourselves with the positive to outweigh some of the negative that shows up in our environments, and that also, as Cheryl has explained scientifically, some of the things that just naturally show up. The mind trying to keep us safe. And what I love, you know, the example that I use too, in addition to the negative news, is sometimes I wake up in the morning and my mind is already running 150 miles an hour with all the things that I need to worry about and be afraid of and be concerned about, and I'm like, who flipped that switch? You know, I didn't do it consciously, but it's just, again, the mind trying to keep me safe and familiar and comfortable. And what I have found is I do exactly what Cheryl recommended. The very first thing on my list, I've got my little calendar page that I use here, and I've got it literally on every single day. I've got a little daily routine that I do every morning, and Mind PT is the #1 thing. And I do that in the morning, but I also make an effort. I'm not quite as good about it, but I make an effort every night before I go to bed to watch the Mind PT session. You know, like Cheryl said, again, for at least 3 minutes. And what I've noticed consistently is that when I wake up in the morning, I don't have that kind of frantic, you know, already in a state of worry and doubt and fear if I am consistent about kind of planting those seeds. And with Mind PT, it's like planting not just a few seeds, it's like planting, like Cheryl said, 800 images, 200 positive statements. It's a lot of seeds that are getting planted, a lot. It's like one of those showers in a fancy hotel that's got like 4 different shower heads coming down on you, kind of positivity.
Right.
And that's the way it feels, and that's the way it shows up. And I also, there was one other thing that I forgot to mention about what makes MindPT really unique, and I want to make sure while we have Cheryl on the line to have her address kind of the scientific side behind this. But one of the other things that MindPT does that is very unique is that every time you watch a MindPT session, it completely reshuffles the images. So I've got my own Excellent Decisions MindPT session, and every time I watch it, those images are in a completely different order. It starts at a different spot, it ends at a different spot. They're completely reshuffled. And we sat down and looked at what the actual number is. If you say, 800 images reshuffled, how many different possibilities are there? My daughter's a grad student in math, and I asked her, and she was trying to explain it to me. Bottom line, it's a really, really big number. It's basically different every single time you watch it. And for me, that means it's fresh every time. But Cheryl, can you talk about some of the science behind why MindPT has set it up that way and why it does reshuffle every time?
That's a good point, because I think it's important for all of us to feel like it is fresh. I was going to ask that, so I'm glad you brought it up, Robert. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Yes. It is very, very important part of it. And what really is going on, I believe in science, is that when we see the world and we learn things, we're forming associations. In other words, we know that 1 comes before 2 and 3 comes after 2, and that order is important just in a numerical learning. However, the same thing happens when you're learning everything. You are actually forming an association. You're connecting the dots between something else that you've already learned and you have in your mind and what is new in front of you. In fact, if you don't do that, you won't remember it. So the reshuffling of the deck, so to speak, is allowing the mind to constantly form new associations. These new associations, every time something connects in your brain, literally there's an exchange of information across millions of neurons. So by changing the order, these associations change, and again, that expands the possibility thinking. Now, I'm not sure if Robert mentioned the number because it broke up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's 4 with over 2,500 zeros following it.
Unbelievable. Say that again?
It's
How many?
number 4,
Yeah.
followed by 2,500 zeros.
I just called it.
There's
See,
no
Cheryl,
name for that number.
I'm less scientific. I called it a really, really, really big number.
I like that. Those are all the possibilities of shuffling, which basically what you're saying, Cheryl and Robert, is it's really keeping our minds growing and fresh because we're having to process things in a new way each time. Was that correct?
Yes, and it triggers engagement and fun because all of a sudden we go, oh, that image whoa, and we get excited and they're feel-good emotions. So all of a sudden, all this is working in this incredibly synergistic way. And the reason why I do want everybody to get the number is because if in your mind, just think of a 4. Now add 3 zeros, add 6. Now imagine that continuing out until there's 2,500 more zeros.
Can't fathom.
That's the number of different orders you can view with just one MindPT session, one expert session. And we have many experts that has sessions. So you have this, and it's literally, effectively, infinite. And because there's these infinite possibilities, you couldn't possibly watch one session enough times to see all the orders. That's giving you infinite possibilities to form new associations with everything else you know. So as you sort for things and you become more positive in your expectations of yourself, and you're seeing this in your mirror neurons are being triggered to do some of the same things you're seeing, it literally accelerates you, is what I believe, and so that you can go from where you are to where you want to be in a faster way.
Wow.
And
And that's
on a practical level, what I've seen as I've been using MindPT regularly now for months and months is, and again, I'm a huge believer in visualization, affirmation, bombarding ourselves with positive imagery and thoughts. But for myself, when I do my visualizations, when I do my affirmations, if I don't refresh them every couple of months at least, at some point they just become a routine. They don't feel like they're having that same kind of powerful impact. When I first think of that affirmation, I add it to my list, and it's fresh and powerful in my mind. And whatever it is, weeks later or months later, if I'm still doing that same affirmation without kind of mixing things up a little bit, it just doesn't have the same kind of juice. It doesn't impact me the same way. And I'm realizing, interestingly, as we're having this conversation, I'm realizing I've been watching, quote-unquote, the same MindPT session, Excellent Decisions, the one that I created. I've been watching that now for months and months. But I have never had that experience of feeling like, this isn't really working anymore. This isn't really making the same kind of difference it was. It literally feels like it's fresh every single day.
Wow. Well, let me just pause for just a moment because I want both of you to address the outcomes and the results, the benefits. But first, let's just have a chance to talk to some of the people in our audience. Roland, I saw you put up two quote comments from William Rock. Thank you for commenting, William. Again, me, I watch the news too much. Yikes. Good point. It changes our focus and blocks creativity or writer's block. Good point, William. Are there other comments that you want to bring in, Roland?
First of all, William gave his traditional wow, wow, wows, and he was really he was very excited to learn much of what Robert was saying and what Cheryl was saying. I am amazed at the concept that they are delivering today. I'm going to have to watch the replay myself. But also, before we abandon comments, Rich Johnson says, great information. I will have to jet. Will need to catch the recast. Robert, I hope you see this. Good to see you here. So you have a friend apparently in the audience, and he's been prolific at commenting too. So I wanted to catch that.
Rich and his wife Cheryl have been around my work for a long time, and they're wonderful people here in Southern California.
That's great. Any other comments you wanted to address, Roland? Because I want to make sure we connect with everyone who has a question or comment. Otherwise, there's a lot here. As you can see, we're talking about science and psychology and technology all blended together. So if you don't have further comments, I'd like to ask a question and we can continue on. Are we okay, Roland?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Robert, you've been doing this for several months. Can you address the outcomes, the benefits of MindPT? And on your website, you talk about both the health benefits and the personal benefits. So could you share your thoughts on that with us?
Sure. I'm unmuted, right? Yeah, I was muting myself because there was a train going by my office here, but I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, we don't mean to say, and Cheryl is incredibly diligent about not making promises that we can't actually back up with research and hard results. And it's several months ago that I got introduced to MindPT. I have been very diligent about using it myself. I've been sharing it with my coaching clients and making it a part of the program that I deliver to colleges and universities. And so for me to speak to the specific results that are coming from it, it's really very early in the game. And what I'll do is I'll share my own personal experience, which is that on a day-to-day basis, I notice a difference. Again, I have been around this kind of work, and I've been blessed through the Transformational Leadership Council, through the Southern California Association of Transformational Leaders, through my work with Jack Canfield, my own work. I've been blessed to work with some of the very best people in the personal and professional development industry. I've seen a lot of the other, the books, the seminars, the digital programs, all the resources that are out there. And I feel like I have a really high bar. I have what I call a very good BS detector. When something is not what it claims to be, or not able to really deliver on the promise, I feel like I've got a really good kind of ability to discern that. And this MindPT, it's just different. And again, I explained a little bit at the beginning. I'm that Remington shaver guy. I'm not just using it, but I'm using it with my clients. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, about how if we do have any coaches or speakers who are listening in, how they can potentially use this with their clients to support them better, and also for coaches and speakers to be able to differentiate themselves from their competition, to be able to justify higher rates, to be able to keep their clients on board for longer periods of time by making MindPT part of the way they deliver their services. MindPT, my MindPT session is now something that's available and basically homework assigned to every single coaching client that I have. When I go out and work with a college or university and share the Excellent Decisions Leadership Program, part of the follow-up that we do is to give them access to the MindPT session. So we get them engaged in the conversation in the workshop, and then we keep them engaged in the conversation using MindPT. So I have seen the results myself, just in terms of increased clarity, increased focus. I'm taking actions that there was resistance previously to taking action on. I'm doing more and doing it more effortlessly, simply because. Well, and again, I don't want to kind of make an unrealistic claim, but I look back on 6 months ago, before I had been exposed to MindPT, and I look at now. And I just know that there's an increased level of clarity, focus, and consistent action that simply wasn't always there. And I noticed the difference. And again, you were very generous in your introduction of me, and again, I've been very blessed in terms of all the resources that have been available to me. I really feel like I'm living on the cutting edge of this content, this positive, life-changing, how to create the life you want to lead kind of world. And yet MindPT really rose to the top in terms of a resource that I want to make sure I'm using every single day.
Wow, it's great. How long has MindPT been around?
Well, Cheryl, you can answer that better than I can. It's relatively new in terms of really bursting on the scene, and we can talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that are going to be happening in the next couple of months, where most people at this point, when I talk about MindPT, they haven't heard about it before, but I think within about 3 or 4 months, a lot of people are going to be hearing about this based on some things that are happening. But Cheryl, how long has it been?
Well, I started working with Kim Serafini, the CEO and founder of MindPT, I met her in 2010. I think it was right around October, actually, so about 5 years ago. And we really went very, very deep into big conversations about what was going on. And so it has been in development, if you will, for 5 years. It's no longer in development. What we're doing actually now is creating sessions based on different experts' wisdom, knowledge that they can impart to people in such a way that they can get it in a faster way. And what I wanted to tag on to what Robert said about benefits is, yes, I am very diligent, because I do feel that we do need real, actual science on what MindPT does, and the initial pilots are very encouraging. But here's one thing I do believe that is going to prove out, that I want everybody that is listening on this Hangout to understand, that what we know is there is a way to prime people to succeed. And we know that there is a way that actually happiness precedes success, not the other way around. One of our big supporters, endorsers, and people very deeply involved now with MindPT is Shawn Achor. Shawn is a positive psychologist. He was Harvard trained. He taught at Harvard. And his research has really shown that if people know how to get themselves in a happy state, they end up being more successful. Doctors make more accurate diagnoses. Salespeople sell more products. This is a key point, because now the reason why the benefits are there is because we're again getting people in a better emotional state, which includes happiness, joy, and feeling overall good. And that primes people to be able to do more and be more successful. So, and again, the attention by which you're watching something, we have sessions on all sorts of different topics, everything from losing weight, eating better, being more fit, to creating great relationships. I mean, there's quite a library of different possibilities that people can watch and get well.
So
And
Cheryl,
that's why the benefits are there, I believe. Go
so
ahead,
Cheryl,
Lynn.
we're hearing there was a little sound glitch. So what you're saying is people can pick different types of topics like losing weight or being more successful, and then as far as the structure of the program, they would get different images, there's music. Can they also make suggestions of images they'd like to see? I was wondering about that because Robert mentioned customizing the programs.
Yes. The short answer is we have a number of different opportunities and ways to customize. One, you can add your own images, and in fact, we highly encourage, and you're automatically, what we do is when you register and you have the program, you're asked to put in your name. So your name gets inserted into the program so that you're actually seeing that, because people really resonate. You just think about when someone calls out your name, you feel acknowledged, but if someone just says, hey, you, it's a different thing.
Exactly.
But if someone says Lynn, you feel acknowledged and honored. Well, the Mind PT does that. So that's the first customization. The second one is you can add images of yourself. So now you're seeing yourself associated with all these beautiful images of happiness and success and wonderful things happening. So you're in the actual image stream that we're presenting through technology. So these new associations of you embedded in different orders are showing you, oh, I can show up this way. And it's like your mind is going to work, because that's the way our minds work, to create meaning, to create patterns, to create associations, because that's how they learn.
Beautiful. So in a sense,
that's
would you say it's like creating the happiness version movie of your life? And you said putting the happiness first.
I think I heard yes, you're creating the happy state, the positive state, the feelings of joy. And one that we forgot to mention yet is gratitude. What I love gratitude. That's probably what really got me going with Kim, is I've always felt that gratitude is such a door opener. And like when I teach people, I say, think about how you feel if you open the door for someone who needs help. And most people will say, if they really recollect what they feel an opening in their heart or a warmness. It just feels good. Well, the same thing is happening with Mind PT. It is designed to create feelings of gratitude. So gratitude and happiness, if you will, are two pillars by which we can literally help navigate our world more successfully. Because what is known is when you appreciate something, what also is known is that appreciating something is acknowledging it for working. And when you focus on what's working, you're more likely to find the next step that's going to expand that capacity for greater accomplishments.
Wow.
If you focus on what's wrong, you're not. So I'm hoping that everybody here is seeing that this is actually quite a complex combination that we have embedded into the Mind PT technology to work with the way we are designed to work, to be grateful human beings, to appreciate what works, to focus on solutions, not on problems, to stay in happy states, states that we can be resourceful. So all of those reasons are why our users at Mind PT will report to us all sorts of evidence for them that they know it's working. And those reasons are just profound, because if you think about, people spend hours reading books, going to workshops, doing all these things to help improve their experience of life. And what if there's this amazing opportunity that all you have to do is take 3 minutes and you prime yourself to be happier? That broadens your expectations, and all of a sudden, if you're having, say, losing weight, your mirror neurons have picked up watching other people eat healthy foods, avoiding processed foods, drinking beautiful, clean water. And you do it without thinking, because you haven't sat there and argued It's just a natural response.
I
It's
see.
truly, truly magnificent. So who knows what all the benefits will prove out in science? The bottom line is, on a daily basis, when people watch it, all sorts of benefits that ripple throughout their day, with their relationships, in their work, in their personal lives, with their personal goals. And that's what they tell us. And that's why it's so exciting.
That's fantastic. I mean, you know, most people think the opposite, Cheryl and Robert. You know, if I get this job, if I get this promotion, then I'll be happy. But what
Right.
you're saying is the opposite. You need to program your mind to be happy first, open up those channels of gratitude to allow more positive things to come in, because many of us have heard that whatever we focus on, we expand that. But here is a tool, a digital tool that we all can access. We are running out of
Yes, that
time.
is
The time
absolutely true.
is just flying by. I'm going to just stop, ask Roland, are there other, I noticed there's some other comments. V. Lynn Hawkins made a comment.
Yes, but I'm going to take
Go ahead.
this opportunity to chime in for 60 seconds because I'm
Please.
just jumping out of my skin.
We don't want you to do that, Roland. Go ahead.
Cheryl and Robert, you don't know this, but I'm a law of attraction practitioner. I'm not a normal law of attraction practitioner. I think most people teach it wrong. But you're right in the wheelhouse of what I try to convey to people. It's so much the issue of bringing on that positivity focus and that polarity, because if you can do that, and in addition to it, keep all the busy thoughts that are negative out of your thinking, and just avoid the thoughts. It can do a lot of what you're saying. And so what you're telling me is that the infusion of the positivity and the nature of that being happiness and gratitude is exactly what the law of attraction teaches, that people cannot do normally by themselves. Is just not in their skill set. So
Right.
what you have shown me is that you can hand people the skill set by basically just eliminating the opportunity to be negative. I mean, in essence. And so there are people that are commenting on this, and I'm sorry I'm rushing through.
Well, that's all right. We might end up
No, and it's
Oh.
perfect to hear too, Roland. I appreciate you saying that because, and we touched on this just briefly, but this is what we're hearing from other practitioners, other people who are out there who have a commitment like yours to helping people live the kind of lives they really want to be living, and understanding the law of attraction, understanding the power of visualization and affirmation, understanding the power of having a coach, all the amazing resources that are available that in so many cases are not being fully utilized. And Mind PT is not something that's designed to replace a law of attraction expert like yourself. It's designed literally to support the work that you're doing. And also, Lynn, I don't know if you're interested, but you know, Cheryl was talking about the complexity. I was just thinking as I was sitting here looking at my phone, I could just in 30 seconds show people very quickly by holding my phone up to the camera.
Would you do
I
that?
can show. Let's see if I can do this upside down here. We'll see.
I would like to see. What is
This
it?
is the Mind PT app that I'm going to press on here.
Great.
And when I do, actually, I'm not going to be able to do that upside down. So let me just do it there.
All right, I think this is
Just
great.
close out of that, and I'm going to
What does
go.
my PT session look like? And I would like we have to run a few minutes over. I want you to just tell everyone what the bonus is, which is so exciting for everyone.
Okay.
To me, it's almost
So
like
people can see, you know, you just open up the app and it lists, you know, in this case I have a ton of them in there because again I'm working with the company, I'm looking at all these experts that are coming in, but you can see just how many sessions are available to choose from. And I'm going to just press on the icon that is the Excellent Decisions app.
Great, show us.
And there it is. And it just starts. And again, it's playing like a slideshow. That's at kind of an average speed. It can go faster or slower than that.
And there's some.
I don't know.
Is there music there, Robert? I don't hear it, but maybe it's too soft.
There is music here, let me.
Love it.
And that's actually a song out of my iTunes that has real meaning to me.
It's feel-good stuff.
But again, it's that simple. It's literally, and to speed it up or slow it down, there's a little rabbit and a little turtle button. I mean, it's so simple and so easy to do. And again, you know, Cheryl was talking about the complexity. but it's so easy. I literally, I just pick up my phone, I push 2 buttons, and I'm in my session. And I have that opportunity. If I have 20 minutes, great. If I only have 3 minutes, I can do it in 3 minutes. And I get that positive, just that shower of positivity. And Cheryl again has talked about the science behind how important it is, and the specific kind of feedback and input that I'm getting. And again, it's that simple to do.
That's really amazing. We have come to the end of the hour, but I want everyone to feel welcome to join us in the after hangout gathering in the green room. We're going to give you the link in a moment. But before we do, I would like to ask both Cheryl and Robert, and Roland, I'd like to ask you as well to give a closing message. What would you like our listeners and viewers to remember most about Mind PT? And maybe, Robert, you can just take a moment to address what coaches and other people can benefit from this, because I think this is really, really important, that if we want to be living our lives fully, here's a tool that we can use, just like we go to the gym and use the treadmill to stay in shape. Now we've got something for our mind. So Cheryl, I'll start with you. What would be a closing message you'd like to give everyone?
What I'd like to say to everyone is we live in complex times, and yes, the science is complex, and everything that we've done to create this technology, and as Robert said, there are simpler answers. There are easier ways to accelerate to a place where we can live the lives that we want. So I'd like everyone to definitely take advantage of the bonus gift that we're giving, to check out other sessions, whatever you would like to do in order to really get the ability to accelerate your life in the way you want to live it. Again, it supports, it doesn't take away from any other methodology. It's meant to work with all different types of coaches and their work, and even companies are beginning to use this technology to prime their employees and their executives to do their work. So clearly it is a gift. Clearly it is revolutionary, and I really encourage everyone, and they will be glad they did.
Thank you. And Robert, will you address first, what is the bonus? I'm sure everyone is waiting. What is this bonus that you're going to be giving to everyone who registers? You've got to register. Go ahead.
Well, when you register, what you're going to get is you're going to get access to the Excellent Decisions Mind PT session that I created. It would normally be $49 to purchase that. And for the people who are on this Hangout, who are connected to this group, we're making it available to you at no cost. So, what it does is it gives you an opportunity. This has been, I think, a great conversation, Lynn. I appreciate you facilitating it. Cheryl, I'm deeply grateful to you for making the effort to not only get up very early in Hawaii, but also to jump through the technology hoops to get through and be here and stay on the whole time. And Roland, thank you so much for bringing your perspective and support. It's been a great conversation, but my guess is we're leaving people in a place of curiosity, wanting to see this for themselves, wanting to know more about it. So we've set up a really easy way for people to do that by giving them access to the Excellent Decisions Mind PT session. You can utilize that yourself, and you can see for yourself just how easy this technology is and begin to feel for yourself. I love, that would be my closing word, is feeling. Because as Cheryl talked about, we do this visualization work, we do this affirmation work, we do our reading and our practices and all that, and if we don't really connect to the feeling and emotional level, in many cases we don't see the results. And I think for me that's been one of the great things about Mind PT, is it's a very simple, very easy way to take it all the way to that feeling level. Rather than just reading words on a piece of paper or closing my eyes and visualizing, I'm getting a multi-sensory experience of really connecting to the feelings and emotions of creating my life just the way I want it to be. So, yeah, we're going to offer people the access to that session so they can see it for themselves.
Great, thank you. And Roland, as a strategic attraction expert yourself and follower, what would you like to say as a closing comment, or perhaps even share some other comments from our audience?
Well, if you wouldn't be able to shut me up if I actually got engaged here, but there's so much that I want to say about Robert and Cheryl's statement. I suggest everybody watch the replay. But in the meantime, If you could show what V. Lynn Hawkins.
I have it full screen here.
Okay.
So what I hear Cheryl saying is that we can expand the reality of the possibilities for what we desire of our world, of our highest and best self with these expert sessions. Amazing. Thank you, V. Lynn.
Yes, translating what Cheryl's talking about in practical application. And also, William Rock was saying, nice time. This is in conjunction with something you said way earlier. Nice timing, Robert McPhee. I am finally starting to speak live versus just on the web. So he's expanding out for the same reason, the same way. There's so much that you guys delivered. I find nothing in any kind of a derogatory stand with what I believe with the law of attraction. The truth is the truth is the truth. Universal truth. You guys fit right in, and it works. I don't even have to get into what the science of technology is. I can already tell you that your services work. That I know.
Thank you, Roland. And I think what's really important here in closing for everyone to realize is that we operate, as Cheryl and Robert have said, on multiple levels. We've got thoughts bombarding us all the time. So if we could be willing to give ourselves a few minutes of time, whether it's 3 minutes or 20 minutes, and allow ourselves to get deep into what would touch our hearts and our minds. So what we're talking about is the mind and the heart, the feelings. And we get those feelings from music and words and images. There have been a lot of studies on this, and thanks to Robert and Cheryl for being here, we're all getting exposed to a program that is going to be making national news. We haven't mentioned it. Robert had told me offhand earlier that this is going to be news on Oprah. Is that correct, Robert? In November or in a couple months?
It's actually launching in just a couple weeks, actually. Oprah has created an e-course with Sean Achor, who Cheryl mentioned, and Mind PT is an integral part of that e-course. There will actually be a full day of that 21-day e-course dedicated to Mind PT, and Mind PT will be a thread that runs throughout. So again, through that and a couple of other things, Mind PT is going to be coming definitely into the mainstream conversation.
Very exciting. So all of you here are getting a preview before it's on Oprah. So I encourage you, take advantage of this free bonus and learn more about mind power technology. And with that, I want to again just thank you all for taking time from your busy schedule to be here and tune into Positivity. Come back next week at the Difference Maker Summit for another boost of inspiration, empowerment, and motivation with Virginia Parsons, who will be teaching us all about the latest in Hangout technology. And until then, if you can join us in the after room, I would encourage it. You'll have a chance to meet Robert, and if Cheryl could stay on, that would be great. And until then, thank you so much, and keep spreading out your positive impact. I am so grateful to have you in my life and in my circle. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.